Welcome to live stream number 122. 122, folks. Today, we'll talk about Fusion 360. We are going to talk about import a model and how to work around the model. My name is Lars Christensen, and thank you so much for taking the time to join today's live stream. This here, see, we already get a couple people coming in here. This is a topic that one of you guys have asked if I could cover. So, importing a model into Fusion and then start kind of like modeling around the model. How do you use it? And that's a really good question. So let's just jump into it. So, now if you pay attention to your screen, what is the difference between this screwdriver you see right here and this screwdriver? Any idea? Well, you will see that the menu up here is a little different. We're in the sculpt environment. You can change that to model if you want to, that's fine. But what you will see the difference is that this model here has a history tree down here, or a build tree, whatever you want to call it, where the other model does not. So, this model here is the original model. Did this on a Facebook Live I don't know, a month ago maybe or so. Just a little stubby screwdriver model on the Absolute Beginner that I do on Wednesday evenings. And that brings me up, before we jump into importing a model and how to work around it, there's kind of two things to this. If you're importing a model from somewhere, then you normally don't know, how it was built. Even many times when you're opening up a file, you're a little bit like, okay, this is going to be exciting, right? And you open up the file and you look at it and you're like, okay. Now, if it's a Fusion file that you're getting from somebody else, this down here is kind of like the roadmap for how the body was kind of built. So you can always go down here, click on the go all the way back to the beginning, and then you can either play, what I normally don't do, but you can step through and you can kind of see step by step. So we have canvas, nothing happens. But if I turn the canvas on, you will kind of see that there was a picture that was used to model this one up. And by the way, if you want this want to watch that webinar or that live stream I did, email me and I'll send you a link for it. It's up. It should be up on YouTube and on Facebook. Then there's a sketch that was modeled up. Click on the next one. We can see that we kind of like revolved something around. Let's turn the canvas back off so we can see something got revolved. Then the next step was a fill that was added on the back. Another sketch number 2, that turned into be a sketch number 2 that turned into be a hexagon type. Another sketch, and then a round section was added on it. Another sketch, and then there was created a little sliver here, and that was then mirrored around here. So this history down here, going through those step by step, can really be helpful whenever you're opening up somebody else's model, to just kind of like trying to figure out where the heck was the head at when the model is powered up. Now, you don't have that advantage if you are importing something else into Fusion. So that's the difference. If you click on this file here, you'll see that there's absolutely no history tree in here. So I can answer a couple of questions all in one live stream, but it's always delightful. So if you, for example, get a Inventor file, or if you get a SolidWorks file, or a file from another 3D CAD modeling software, when that file is saved, it's not, how do I say this? The history tree does not come with it when it's exported out. So if you ever worked in Inventor or SolidWorks or something, you bring it into Fusion, you can't find where that sketch is that was used to revolve it, because it doesn't come with the file. It only stays with the inventor file or with the SolidWorks file. It's kind of like how the CAD companies are kind of like making sure that some of their data kind of like stays within there. Though I will say it goes the other way. It can. Like from inventor to SolidWorks, for example, you can actually see the history, the sketches, but that's another story. That's another live stream. So you don't get the sketches in there. Now, some people are saying, well, wait a minute, how do I then modify it? And we've actually talked about that in previous live streams. So again, if this is very important to you and it's something you need to deal with, send me an email. Email is down in the description area, lars.christensen@autodesk.com. And I'll send you a link to one of the live streams we did, or you can find them yourself, of course, on direct modeling, because that's what we would kind of work with in that environment. That inside of Fusion, though we don't have a history down here, we can still do all different kinds of things to this model. It's still a solid model that we can work with. This, by the way, is a step file. And the way I brought this one in was I went out to the data panel, I hit upload, hit select file, and you will see STP. This was a step file, and I just hit open, and then upload. I'm not going to do that right now because on the live stream it starts taking away at my streaming speed and it gets choppy and stuff like that. But that was really all I did. So click upload, select the file, whatever it is, and this could be, Inventor or SolidWorks, something else, and bringing it in. So though that you don't have a history tree, you can still do all different kinds of things. I mean, we can go over here and just select the face, and we can hit Q, and it will already become into an offset face, and we could literally start doing all kinds of different things to this part. We can actually cut through it. We can completely manipulate the part. We can start sketching. So I mean, I could right click right now and create a sketch on here and start creating a sketch. So that actually comes into kind of like the next thing when you're importing a model. What I prefer to do is I prefer to go and right click on the name up here and select Capture Design History. And now I will, from this point on, I will start creating a history of all the different movements that I'm going to be doing. So I would normally import a model, right click, say Capture Design History to get the history down here. I'm not too worried about getting those sketches from the past. What happened in the past, man? I know sometimes you think that, well, wait a minute, how do I work with it if I don't have all the sketches? But this is still a stable, good model. Yes, I don't have all those sketches I showed you before, but for what I need to do, I probably don't really need them. Okay, so that I kind of like is important to kind of like put a line on them. You can pretty much do anything in the standard environment if you import a model with the direct editing scenario. So there's the part about bringing it in, and then start modeling with the capture history in here. So I hope that makes sense. So let's start actually doing that. Let's start modeling with this imported model. Let's start kind of like work around the model with something. And I was inspired today by a good friend of mine, John Grimsmo, who hopefully you're aware of his YouTube channel. I put a link to John's YouTube channel down in the description area of this video. I also put one on the one for, I should have done that yesterday, for John Saunders NYC CNC. Those two links are down in the description area. I'm going to be gone next week because I'm going on a team meeting with the Autodesk team. So I will not be doing a live stream. So if you're looking for something to watch, you should check out those two channels if you don't already. John, great guy, was talking about this morning about making boxes he makes knives to make these cool foam boxes or foam inlays for these boxes he does. Really cool stuff. So that kind of like inspired me to this model. And I thought, all right, let's build a box around this this model here. So to do that, notice that we are inside of a standard part file, but now I'm actually want to create a box and put different things into it. So turning this into an assembly style might be a good idea. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go up here, because there's only just, see the stubby screwdriver and the body here. I can always just right click and say create components from bodies, right? And now we have kind of like, the screwdriver. So now we maybe rename this part to be stubby screwdriver assembly. And then we could, this screwdriver right now, that body is the screwdriver here. So we can slow left click and we could say screwdriver like that. And we can click up on this one. I don't know if we can rename it up here. We may actually might have to do that out in, we might have to do that out here. So that will be up in the top. Look at how many live stream different parts we have got created so far. Woo, that's a lot. So this one here, we can rename it up here. So this is going to be stubby screwdriver assembly. Like that. Okay. So I have now created kind of like that assembly. The screwdriver is down here. And that is fine, right? Because we didn't really lose any history for this one because we didn't really have any anyways. Now let's go ahead here and create our box. So I'm going to right click and I'll say new component. And I'm going to show you some I think is some neat tricks here. So I'm just going to go ahead here and rename this one box. And again, this makes it easier also for other people that ever got to work on your model. Now, let's go ahead and extrude up the box. So I'm going to create a box. And I'm going to use what I like to call the Jimmy DiResta technique. And Jimmy does this all the time if he makes a box. A wood box or something. If you're not familiar with Jimmy DiResta, that's another YouTuber you should check out. I select the top face here, and this box, I'm probably just going to sketch a rectangular shape like this, and then put some dimensions on it. So D for dimension, and I'm probably, you could try to offset from edges out, but a box normally has some kind of like a standard size, so we'll probably do it like this, and then from this point I might locate it by adding some edge constraints to it. Oh, here's another neat trick I wanted to show you. See how right now the box can go up and down? Sometimes I do this. Hit alpha line, snap to the midpoint. It's going to show up with a triangular shape. There's the midpoint. I'm just going to draw a line horizontal, just like that. So that is sitting right there. And then you can do something like horizontal constraint between this and maybe the origin, or maybe not. Horizontal from here to there. Ooh, I'm having some good issues. Horizontal from the point. All right, not the line, the point. Okay, and then I fully define that box center to that. Now, like I said, I'm going to kind of like use what I would call the Jimmy DiResta technique right now with this box. Is I'm going to hit Q, and I'm going to extrude this box up. So I'm going to go up kind of like with a lid, and the appearances comes with actually stays within the step files. So that's why you'll see the appearance is not standard steel. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to 20 in one way, but I'm going to make it a little bit deeper the other way. So I'm actually going to go right over in the extrude over here and say I'm going to go 2 different sides from that point. So I'm going 20 millimeters up, but I'm actually going to go like maybe 30 down. Okay. And this is going to be a completely new body in our box folder. So I'm going to hit OK to that. So all I got right now is, is a box. Jeremy's yelling at me. Use a point. Awesome. So right now we have this box, and we have, if I hide the box for a second, we have the screwdriver sitting inside the box, but the box is just, think of it like a brick. There's nothing in there. Now, if you're using kind of like the what I call the Jimmy DeResta trick is he will build the box, and then he will go over and cut the box afterwards. So we can go back over here and say, all right, let's split the body. It says over here, what are we going to split the body? This is going to be the brick. What is our splitting tool? And, we could go in here and select the origin that already exists in here. So we have the XZ coordinate. And then if I hit OK now, we just kind of like slit the box here. So now we have created our bottom, and we have created our lid of our box. And I could, of course, right now, we could just right click here. We could hit like the move command, and we could just move this up. So you can kind of like see that we have this is going to be the lid, this is going to be the bottom. We have the screwdriver sitting in here. It's still solid in there. So that is not really useful. But another thing I want to show you, if I open up the box, because I split it, I've actually ended up with two bodies right now. There's a bottom, and there is a top. So you could go ahead here and rename them. Top, and just to make it a little bit easier again, bottom. Let's just work with the bottom first. So I'm going to hide the top, so now we can kind of see the bottom here. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to hollow out this box, and then I'm going to use a couple of supports that's going to support our little stubby screwdriver in here. So I hope that this makes sense in regards to working around an imported model. Remember, the screwdriver we brought in. Now, here's a neat trick I want to show you. So we have the history down here for the box. We sketched up the rectangle, we extruded it, and we just split it, right? Now you would have a tendency to go and say, all right, well, I would have a tendency to go, because I'm the one who's doing it. I'm going to use the shell command, and I'm going to select the top face, and nothing happens. But then if I say include a thickness, and I say, for example, 4 millimeters, we now have this whole thing shelled out. So the screwdriver is still kind of like floating in the air right now, but now we kind of like have the foundation for our box. That is actually a pretty neat trick, I think, because as I'm looking at shelling this out, I'm actually thinking that at some point we're going to be doing some radiuses on this box. It's not going to be sharp corners. Now, if we go back in time, actually if we go all the way back before we split this part, when we only had one body, it might be easier at this point to put some fillets on. So let's go in and add fillets, and just add some fillets here to the four corners. Whoops. Let's make it a big fillet, 10. Hit enter. So now we kind of like move back in the history tree, right? We added the fillet there. Now if we move forward, it still got split with those fillets. We move forward again, you will see that the shell command also now have the inside radiuses on it, because it's looking at the outside when it's filleting. So I know this is not earth-shattering for many of you, but if you are fairly new to Fusion, this should be kind of interesting. How to move back and forth in that history tree and place a fillet, but then when you roll forward, it actually affects what happens going forward. If it went a little bit too fast, just rewind, watch it again. If it still goes too fast, have a drink, and then it will be fine. Okay, so I kind of like wanted to model this area up like this here. And then, like I said, I wanted to create some support for holding this, a nice box to hold this screwdriver in, thanks to John Grimsmo's video on foam. So what I'm going to do now, and I'm still only working on the bottom, right? I'm going to open a sketch on the back here, on the bottom here. I'm going to right click, create a sketch, and I'm just going to sketch two point rectangles. So I'm just going to sketch one right here, and I'm going to sketch one over here, about there. And I'm going to make them both the same width, so D for dimension. And I'm going to make this one here. Let's make it 5. We could also make the other one 5. You could do like we talked about parameters not long ago, you could just, instead of typing in 5, you could just click on the 5 there, right? And now if we change this one, the other one changed with it. Kind of cool. Now they're still underdefined, so we still gotta kind of like place some dimensions on this. So I'm just gonna give it a dimension from the inside of here. Let's make that 30. That's probably good. And let's make this one go from here to here. And let's make that one maybe 80. That's pretty good to the center of this area. And then I am going to extrude those up. So I'm going to hit Q, select the two areas here, and drag them up. Now I'm dragging them right into our screwdriver model right now. What is actually fine. You could continue dragging them up like this, but I actually probably want them to be a little bit offset. I want them down a little bit from the top edge. So instead of using distance, I'm going to use to object and select that top face there, and you get an option between change faces or extended faces. I normally have to kind of like try one or the other. So I'm going to click that one, and now you will see that it's flush. Now that was not what I wanted. But we have an offset function, so I can say -2, and now these are 2 millimeters offset from up here. And this is kind of like a little bit of parametric design intent, because if I ever make the box higher, it will always stay 2 millimeters from that edge. So you can always guarantee that. Okay, so I really haven't used that imported model for anything yet, but that's what we're about to change right now, because what we can do next is we can go in and use the combine command. So I'm going to select combine. Oops, I'll click that a little fast. Modify combine. And then now I can say, what is my target body? That is going to be the box. And what is the tool body? Well, that's actually going to be the screwdriver. And I can choose to cut with the screwdriver. Now I'm going to say keep the tool, keep the screwdriver. Always want to keep this. Whoever throws a tool away. Keep the tool, hit OK. And eventually maybe something doesn't really look like anything happened. But if we turn the screwdriver off, you will see that we just used that screwdriver to kind of cut out where the handle was and made a resting place for the screwdriver itself. If I turn the assembly on, all the way on top, then it should look a little bit better, right? So we kind of created a box here for this to kind of like be held in. Okay, so I hope that this is somewhat useful. Now I wanted to show you a couple of other tricks while we are at it, because I think that there's a couple of tools. Actually, one of the tools we haven't quite used yet. But before we do that, let's just go to the top right now, because we actually didn't do anything. We haven't done anything to the top. That is just stayed up there. So I would actually probably do the same thing we did before. I would apply another shell to that. So let's go in here and do another shell to that face. Gonna also do that 4 millimeters, right? So now we kind of have that there. Some people have asked me, when you have a box like this, right now this lid is just floating around, how can we create a lip that will be enclosed on? One trick would be to go back to the bottom or the top, wherever you want the lip to be. Open up a sketch, right click. Oh, and I want to make sure I'm in the box folder here. Going in here and right click and create a sketch, right? And then what you could do was you can use offset, select this edge here. I'm just going to go out -2 millimeters, going to place it right in the center. And then I'm going to do Q, select that outside edge. So now I'm kind of like making an extra, that's going to be my kind of like my lip here. But of course, in the top, we still don't have anything. That's still completely flat. Well, we can use the same function we just used before. We can go in here, say combine. What is our target body? This time it's going to be the lid. What is our tool body? It's going to be the bottom. And we're going to keep it. Hit OK. And now when I turn the bottom off, you will see we got that cutout in here for that. We have talked about tolerances before, how to deal with all that. So there is live streams on that. Just to show you section analysis here. So now you can kind of see we get that cutout right there. And we talked about tolerances before. We can talk about it again, of course. But there is kind of like created that lid. Again, if this is going a little bit too fast, don't worry about it. Rewind it and see it a little bit later. Now, the last thing I wanted to show here, because this is kind of like, I don't know, in my mind, this is a plastic type of box. I wanted to show you another tool. So I'm just going to hide the screwdriver for a second. So there's the bottom of our box. Many times when you're creating plastic boxes, you have support inside of these to kind of like make sure that they make them a little bit stronger, but still kind of lightweight. In Fusion, we call that a web. You can actually also create like ribs in here, but a web is meant more for like, I think like plastic parts and things like that. So let me show you how that works. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna sketch a line, but I'm gonna make an offset plane. So that icon up there, I'm gonna make an offset up from the bottom of this, however high I want the rib to be. So let's make it, let's have it 4 millimeters up the floor. Okay, hit OK to that. So I'm gonna open a sketch on that face. Right click, I'm gonna create a sketch. Now here is the crazy thing about this tool. I'm going to select a line, and I'm going to create a line that, actually I'm going to create a line right up here, just to be wacky. The only thing I made sure on with this line right now is that it is horizontal, right? But it's sitting out here. There's no length on it or anything. I'm going to make a midpoint relation between this line and the origin. So now that line is sitting right there, but it doesn't have a length on it right now. It's actually kind of like underdefined. Some people could actually kind of yell at me right now for doing this, but you can do that. So we're going to hit alpha line. I'm actually going to create another line the other way that I haven't generated the length on. So 2 lines sitting on 4 millimeters offset from the bottom. I don't know how to show you this. Offset, sitting from the bottom in there. And look at the rib tool. I'm going to go in and click, or web tool. Click the web tool. I'm going to select that line. I'm going to select that line. And you can add a thickness to it. Let's make it 2. And notice what happened right here. I selected the 2 lines, and Fusion is actually smart enough that it's literally, this tool is a little unique. It's looking at the lines using, and you can see that you can choose if you want to come symmetrical from one direction, whatever you want. You can play with this yourself. You give it a thickness. It's looking at the lines, but it's going in that direction till it hits something. It's almost a little magically almost. So hit OK. So this is one way that you can add support for plastic parts to kind of like support them. Let me show you one more time on the lid, on the top lid here. So if we go back in here and we could create, again, I would normally create an offset plane from the bottom. So I'm kind of like sketching upward. So let's make this one 6. And right click, create a sketch. And I can literally just like creating some lines, right? And I'm not even going to fully define these. I'm just going to create some lines going around here, like that, completely random. They should of course be, I should of course put dimensions on them, but the tool itself, select the lines you want. So you can select these lines here. And hit OK, and you now have created that those lines gets extruded till you see something, and you have now now created kind of like a web in there for support for plastic part. So I hope that this was somewhat useful, a way to create kind of like something around an imported part. So we have like a little box with a lid on it that fits in here, that we now have. We now could do whatever we want to do with. We could 3D print it. We could do whatever. We have a kind of like a web up here. I didn't check. It probably interferes up there right now. So that maybe we have to do the same thing with a cutout up there. Now, so that's what I was planning on showing today. I hope this was useful. Kind of like just seeing somebody else model something up, working around with an imported file. And guess again, this was a step file. Now, like I said, go and check out John Grimsmo and John Saunders channels if you're looking for other content. Tomorrow is all about cam. Guess what we're going to do tomorrow? Tomorrow, we are going to throw some toolpath on this bottom box. I want to talk to you about machining corners, because we touched on that before. And then I want to show you a neat way to kind of like machining thin features like this one here. If you ever try to machine something like this, you might get a bunch of chatter because the wall starts vibrating. So I want to talk a little bit about tomorrow about a couple of neat tricks on how you can machine something like that. That's cam for tomorrow. All right, man. I hope this was useful. Just about the half an hour mark. So a couple of different things in this video. One, use that if you get somebody else's file, Fusion 360 file, use that little scroll bar down at the bottom to kind of like see how they build it up. Give you kind of like an insight on what they were thinking. With imported models, you don't have that. Okay, you can still use all the direct tools to get the job done. And then in this example here, I hope that you kind of like, it's important to understand that the imported model is still a solid model. So you can still use it, use the combine tool, and all of those different things. All right, man, 146 people in today's live stream. I absolutely appreciate it. My email address is down in the description area, lars.christensen at autodesk.com. You're more than welcome to send me any topics that you would like to see. This was one of those. One of you guys sent in and says, hey, build something around an imported model. I hope you got something out of that. I will not be tomorrow's cam, so if you're not into cam, kick back, have a beer. It's Friday. And next week I will not be around. I gotta go to San Diego. It's sunny. So in the meantime, next week, go and check out John Grimsmo's and John Saunders channels. There's a lot of awesome fusion and just a lot of knowledge they're sharing. So that's absolutely awesome. You guys are awesome. I'm going to end the broadcast here. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much. Do me a favor. Thumbs up or thumbs down. If you don't like it, I want to know about it. And I'm going to jump into the live stream chat and say hi to everybody. Until next time, hopefully tomorrow. But if not, then we'll see you soon anyways. Take care, guys.